see a cup of water around here? Here it is. It's over here. I got it. I got it. Tosha the leg. Nala kang pa sumyore. One. You have one.
Sorry.
Knee. You have knee. Yeah. We have sum.
Did you say something fancy?
What?
Did you say something fancy?
Yeah, what a fancy.
You said something wonderful? Did you say something?
Good evening. It's 7:00. This is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tardulinga Buddhist Meditation and Study Center, located in New York City in northern New Jersey, under the direction of Still Kempo, Rato Kempo, Nicholas Vreeland, under the spiritual direction also of Chabje Ling Rinpoche. This is a twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically stages on the path to enlightenment. And tonight we have a refreshing break, a little Millerepida start, because the section of the LAM is very heavy and we have to have enough entertainment to carry us through. Have we got entertainment for you? Any problems with the picture or the sound, immediately text me or Mr. Darren Smith. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center FAQ page on our Tibet Center website. The Tibet Center website, by the way, is the Tibet Center, one word, .org. Go to the FAQ section and scroll down to prayers. Pardon me. Thank you. So, we have enough to do, to say the least. We always do. So we'll start. The first prayer we say is the prayer, as always, the prayer for the spread of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, written by Chabje Ling Rinpoche's predecessor. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, for all the people living here, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them. May all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. I forgot to mention, if there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for, victims of the earthquake, etc., put their names in the chat box as soon as possible. I have a smaller chat box than you, so I don't see all the things, but nevertheless, don't wait till the last minute, because it's about a minute delay. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharma, called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. And now refuge and bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjagosha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. And now we recite the prayers Holiness has written for the swift return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche. You will find it on our website, along with all the other exciting prayers. Excuse me. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop soul refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lazang Tubuang, Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guest in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet, you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tempe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karma Yama, and Sri Mata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So, we're in a very thick section of the LAM room, but very, very important. I mean, it's the whole essence of Buddhist teachings, the doctrine of emptiness, the final word. But we need a little break. And coincidentally, this is the Milarepa story called Yolmo Snowy Range. It's chapter 7 of this book, this wonderful book, page 73, chapter 7, The 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. Now available on Spotify. No, it's not. If you have a contract. Coincidentally, those of you I sent the pictures where our director, Nicholas Breland, is now in India, he's in this range, or he may still be. I don't know if he left yet or not. This is the range on the border of India, Arunachal Pradesh province, that is ethnically Tibetan, though belongs to India, and right on the other side is Tibet. Well, now they call it China, but it's Tibet. And will be Tibet again. That's, you know. Anyway, this is called Yolmo Snowy Range. Not too long, short, but a little tantric, so be prepared. It's a little different than his other songs. But you will see the correlation of what we're studying and how he behaves, his view of the world, right out of Prasangika Madhyamika. So, Namo Guru. To fulfill the command of his guru, the Lord of Yogis, Jetsun Milarepa, went from Kyangpen to the Yolmo Snowy Range, where he stayed at Tiger Cave Lion Fortress, Takpuk Senge Zang. Where's Tenzin? He's not here. Our Tibetan consultant. So that's where he stayed, in the forest of Singal Lane. At that time, the local protector goddess of Yolmo appeared, manifesting peacefully from the start, with beautiful form. Accepted as a subject, the spirit gave abundant service and respect to Milarepa. He would calm the local spirits. While the Jetsun's practice was greatly flourishing, 5 young nuns from Monyul, actually, which now Arunachal Pradesh. I don't know what it was in that day. So that's where Nikki is. Well, maybe he left already, but was. From Manyul came to request teachings from Milarepa. They said to him, because there are many fearsome conditions here, this is a place where experience and realization greatly flourish and practice is enhanced. Guru, have you also found this to be so? In reply, he sang this song of praise, of the praise of that place, and how his experience and realization arose. So obstacles make good practitioners flourish. They eat them. They take the energy of the obstacle, transform it. We, however, run and hide. That's what I do. Anyway, however, so we will know it. We will be like him. He sang these verses. I bow at the feet of the noble Guru. By gathering merit, I've met such a Lord. You want to meet a good teacher? Gather merit. Because of the Guru's prophecy, I have come here, this blissful castle in the wooded mountains of Munyul. It's a land of grassy mountains and radiant flowers, in the midst of many dancing trees. A land where langurs and monkeys play, a place where birds sing myriads of songs, a land where bees fly gently about, where rainbows shine both day and night, where light rain falls in both summer and winter, where the mist billows in fall and spring. Within such a solitary place, for me, the Yogi Milarepa, the luminous experience of meditation on the emptiness of mind feels so good. The emptiness of mind, Mahamudra practice. However many negative manifestations arise, it feels extremely good. When the highs and lows are intense, it feels even better still. My body free of negative karma feels good. When there's a myriad of disturbances, it feels extremely good. When fearsome appearances are intense, that feels even better still. Boy, do we have a city for you. Being free of afflictions, birth, and death feels good. When the demon's savagery gets worse, it feels extremely good. When there's no sickness, it feels even better still. Suffering arises as bliss feels good. Suffering arising, as bliss feels good. True core, it's a set of yogic exercise. I'm reading the note now. True core. He says, true core coming from meditative experience feels extremely good. And this true core is a set of physical yogic exercise. When meditative experiences occur, then implicitly true core normally comes from that. All movement becomes true core. That's a note of one of the teachers. So I never heard that word before, but here it is, true core. Coming from meditative experience feels extremely good. The dancing of running and jumping feels even better still. This treasury of spontaneous song feels good. Such words are like the melodies of bees feel extremely good. When that sound becomes merit, it feels even better still. The confidence of strength of mind feels good in the expanse. This is very tricky what he's saying. He's saying a lot of deep things here. Mind self-arising by its own strength feels extremely good. Its dawning as a variety feels even better still. So mind in stillness, and then the appearance is even better. Space like an illusion like meditation, flipping. This yogi who has blissful experience and is happy makes this parting gift to a child with faith. Once he sang, he gave the abhisheka, which is a blessing and instructions, then had them meditate. They developed excellent experience and realization, at which the Jetson was very pleased. Then he sang this song of realization, the song of experience of the Amrita of advice, the nectar, long life nectar of advice. That's what really gives you long life, not the substances that's blessed. The good advice that you put into practice and you change. Here's his poem on realization. Guru Buddha Dharmakaya, unerring teacher of the path of liberation, your compassion activity is the glory of beings. You sit, never separate from me, as the ornament of my crown. That's Jam Bum Ho. We do some of this, Adonis. You know, familiar? Yeah. Never separate. Ho. You practitioners of Dharma who are residing here, though there are many ways to practice genuine Dharma, you are so fortunate to be practicing the profound path. When accomplishing Buddhahood in a single life, do not let your desires in this life be great. If you do, you'll engage much in virtue and negativity. If that happens, you'll fall to the lower realms. When offering service to the Guru, don't complain about all you've done to help. If you do, there'll be resentment for both master and student. If that happens, you'll not accomplish your wishes. Good psychology here. When you're keeping the Samaya vows, don't sleep in the cities of ordinary people. If you do, you'll be influenced by negative examples. If this happens, your Samaya vows will be broken. What he means by that, I don't think it's so much the location where you stay, because you have to go where there's suffering and help. I think don't take the mindset of those ordinary people. But I don't know. This is something you could ask other teachers. Probably the Kagyu Lamas and KTD can probably give you real good information. I don't know. And no notes to help me. Anyway, when you are engaging in study, next verse, do not have great pride in conventional knowledge. If you do, the 5 poisonous embers will flare. If they flare, your intention towards virtuous activity will be disturbed. When meditating together with friends, do not engage in many endeavors. If you do, you'll be distracted from profound virtuous activity. If distracted, you'll miss out on the fortune of sacred Dharma. When practicing the whispered lineage path of means, don't get involved in blessing or taming ghosts. If you do, your own mind stream will rise up as a ghost. If that happens, you'll strive in the Dharma of townsmen or townspeople. In other words, this is referring to doing ritual practice for worldly ends, rather than having a spiritual goal. You're not to get your BMW or whatever you got. No, this is spiritual practice. Don't laugh. There are some sects that chant to get Mercedes. Right. Hey. Next verse. When experience and realization are beginning to dawn, don't speak of your prowess or higher perceptions. Shut your mouth, in other words. If you do, you'll corrupt the secret code language. If that happens, the path's good qualities and signs will be obscured. When you see these faults, abandon them. Eating the food of deceit, negative conduct, taking offerings intended for the deceased, striving and pleasing others, engage in none of these. Act with humility and be self-sufficient. Then they ask, what is the way in which one should be self-sufficient? When they had requested the Jetson to say more, he sang this song of realization in reply. I supplicate the Lord who is so kind. Always he supplicates his teacher. That's what he's doing. Grant your blessing that this beggar's practice may go well. You, young new students, in the deceitful city of virtue and negativity, don't extinguish your good fortune. Listen to the genuine Dharma. Virtue and negative, you're in both ways you're going. Most of us. So, you've not gone down the wrong path, for you have met me. You met the Dharma. Gathering the accumulation again and again, practice meditation. The mist of blessings gives rise to experience and realization. Rousing that alone won't help. You must be self-sufficient. This upadesha of being self-sufficient, I will explain with love. Listen carefully. When keeping to isolated mountain retreats, don't reminisce about the entertainment of the city. If you do, you'll be distracted by the demons of your own mind. Keep the mind turned inward and be self-sufficient. When penetrating the key point with perseverance in meditation, contemplate the uncertainty of the time of death and remember the faults of samsara. Without mulling over the pleasures of this life, cultivate endurance in hardship and be self-sufficient. When receiving instructions on profound meditation, don't have great desire for conceptual knowledge. If you do, then you'll strive in worldly conduct. If that happens, this human life will be empty and wasted. Act with humility and be self-sufficient. When bits of experience and realizations arise, don't regard yourself highly with compulsion to speak of them. If you speak of them, it will upset the namos and dakinis, mamos here, and mamos rather, and dakinis, a type of raksha spirit, a demon. So also used to refer to a class of wrathful or semi-wrathful dakinis. There are some dakinis that are men's, half wrathful, or totally wrathful. Meditate without distraction and be self-sufficient. That's the first word. Probably special chords for that. Don't forget, he accompanied himself on the damyen, like a guitar. When spending time around the guru, don't examine his good qualities or faults, or her good qualities or faults. If you do, you'll just see a heap of faults. Have pure vision and be self-sufficient. When in harmony with Dharma friends and in the Abhisheka rows, getting blessings, don't wish for seniority or the head of that row. If you do, attachment and anger will upset your samaya. Remain harmonious and be self-sufficient. You will see people, let me get the best seat. No, you missed the point. Hello. When begging for alms in the midst of the town, don't deceive others with false dharma. If you do, you'll fall to the lower realms yourself. Act honestly and be self-sufficient. Page 78 now, next verse. Always and in all that you do, be without high self-regard or strong desires. If you have them, you'll just become jaded while looking dharmic. Abandon deception and lies and be self-sufficient. Yeah, you. No, he didn't say that. Then, someone who is able to be self-sufficient should pass on the instructions that are so kind in order to benefit self and others. Hold generosity in the core of your heart, the big generosity, giving dharma. When Milarepa had sung that, they all developed perseverance in their meditation and great enthusiasm for letting go of this life. With unwavering faith in the Jetson, they offered a gold mandala and requested a practice that condenses to their essence the key points of view, meditation, and conduct. The Jetson said, take this gold and use it for your retreat provisions. As for the key points of view and meditation, they are like this. Then he sang this song of realization, the nails, N-A-I-L-S, of view, meditation, and conduct. Grant your blessing that I may naturally abide in accord with the Lord Guru's views, meditation, and conduct. This homage at the beginning of every song to Marpa. For this view, there are 3 nails to drive. For this meditation, there are 3 nails to drive. For this conduct, there are 3 nails to drive. For this fruition, there are 3 nails to drive. To explain the 3 nails of the view, all phenomenal existence is subsumed in mind. Mind itself is the nature of luminosity, yet it cannot be identified. That's something to really think about. That's the pointing out when Shantideva says the ultimate's not a factor of the intellect, can't be understood by the intellect. The ordinary mind that points out the samsaric mind, not the mind that lets go and blends with everything. So, can't be identified. To explain the 3 nails of meditation, concepts are liberated as dharmakaya. Clear awareness is the nature of bliss. Resting uncontrived is equipoise. To explain the 3 nails of conduct, the 10 virtues are the natural expression of conduct. The 10 non-virtues are naturally pure in their own place. The antidote doesn't fix luminosity, emptiness. So Kempo Sudam Jamso Rinpoche explains this line in the song, the essence of clear light sunshine, a commentary on the meaning of the 3 nails. The remedy prajna, this is the explanation now, the remedy prajna, or wisdom, that realizes selflessness, doesn't fix up luminous empty mind one bit, and the remedy itself is naturally pure and free, so it doesn't create emptiness or clarity. Very, very nebulous. You have to think about these things. To explain the 3 nails of fruition, nirvana is not established as being somewhere else, samsara is not to be abandoned for somewhere else. I've determined that my own mind is Buddha. This is very high practice. For among 3 nails, there's a single nail to drive. The nail is the nail of dharmata's emptiness. The nailing is done by a noble guru, If you analyze too much, it won't be driven in. Co-emergent realization will drive it in. This wealth that is shared by Dharma practitioners arose in the mind of this yogi here. May all of you students be pleased. Those words are technical terms. I don't understand a lot of them. Co-emergent wisdom in the Kagyu system has a very specific meaning. So, look it up. You go online, whatever. Then the disciples said, besides ardently supplicating the root guru who guides one on the unerring path of practice, is there anything more to practice? I mean, that's satisfying. What do you mean anything more? The Jetson with delight said, the root guide on the path has these aspects. He then sang the song of realization. The guru, instruction, and student, these three. Perseverance, endurance, and faith, these three. Prajna, compassion, and character, these three. These are ever the guides on the path. This solitary place that is free of busyness is the guide on the path that protects meditative concentration. The revered Siddha Guru is the guide on the path who clears away darkness. Faith that is free of any weariness is the guide on the path of the higher states. Thoughts about the five sense faculties is the guide on the path of liberating whatever's encountered. The instructions of the Kagyu Gurus are the guide on the path that shows the three kayas, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, etc. Rupakaya. Anyway, in other words, the glorious form, the mind of the Buddha, and the two form bodies of Buddha. Sambhogakaya, most beings can't see, but the normal Rupakaya, everyone can see. That's what we call tulku. In the Tibetans call tulku. The objects of refuge are the three precious jewels, are the guide on the path that's without any error. Of these six guides, once these six guides have shown the way, the yogi will go to the field of great bliss and remain in the state free of elaboration and concepts. How happy is the homeland of self-recognition and self-liberation. I take the seat of certainty in understanding reality. The great bliss dawns. In this empty, uninhabited land, this happy yogi was let out like a dragon's roar. Yogi's song, rather, was let out like a dragon's roar. The rain of renown falls in all 10 directions. The petals of compassion's bloom unfurl. Bodhicitta's result purely ripens, and enlightenment activity pervades everything. The inner and outer combine. No subject-object, see? So that's why they sometimes say, hear the sound of Dharma from rocks and everything. Same thing. We've had scriptures like that. Then the nuns thought. The nuns thought. You hear that? Could you imagine? Nun. We have a nun in the audience. I'm fooling around. Just to be a brat. The nuns thought, since it is fine for the guru to stay anywhere, we should invite him to our own land, and said to Milarepa, Lama, since the guru's practice is flawless and he doesn't need to meditate, come to our land and allow the benefactors there to accumulate merit, turn the wheel of Dharma, and accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. The Jetson said, my meditation right here in these mountain retreats is how I benefit sentient beings. Although my meditation is flawless, to stay in mountain retreats is the meditator's pride. Then he sang this song of realization. The Guru's kindness I repay with my practice. Grant your blessings that my mind stream be ripened and liberated. I'm not going to look at the time, even though I just did, because these things have to be finished. For you fortunate Dharma practitioners who are here, I'll sing a song of Upadesha on the profound meaning. Listen with focus and be without distraction. The white snow lioness of the snows on high majestically stands upon the mountain's white face. It's not for fear of any others. This majestic stance is the snow line's heroic pride. The vulture of the red rocks, king of birds, spreads his wings to the expanse of the sky. It's not for fear of falling upon the cliff. To fly in the sky is the vulture's heroic pride. Within the ocean, the mother of waters, the queen of fish further trains her skill. It's not for fear that she will drown. To move and dart is her heroic pride. In the branches of trees of the mountains of Mon, monkeys and langurs further train their skill. There is no worry that the monkeys will fall. It's their nature to play in all kinds of ways. In the depths of the wood forest, the striped tigress further trains her skill. It's not because the tigress has fear. It's her nature to be haughty with such skill. He's seeing everything in purity. It's amazing. In the forest of Singala, Milarepa meditates on emptiness. It's not for fear that my meditation will deviate. Prolonging meditation is my heroic pride. With a practice that is free of distraction, toward the mandala of Dharmata that's perfectly pure, It's not for fear of mistaking the meaning. To seize the key point in its place is the yogi's heroic pride. Any hindrances, deviations, or confusion is in the practice of the inner nadi, prana, and bindu are not the fault of Dharma. These are the boasting of quick productions of signs. Exactly how it's read, I don't understand. These are the boasting of quick production of signs. With the powerful gate of spontaneous conduct, the many expressions of highs and lows, these are not the concepts of dualistic mind's appearances. They're the trendrel of myriad signs. Trendrel is like praditsamapata, connection, something like that. In the ripening of the power of karma, cause and effect, the very forms of virtue and negativity are seen, but they're not a point of deviation for meditation. They're the clear words of truth of one's individual type. A meditator who can maintain his seat in meditation has very little craving for worldly things. It's not that he or she desires any fame or renown. It's the inner sign of revulsion toward the world. I, a yogi who meditates on the profound path, keep only to mountains and to rock caves. I'm not a phony, nor do I engage in inappropriate conduct. One pointed meditation is what I desire. The many melodies of this repa are not deceitful or a wish to distract. They are profound heart advice to help this gathering of faithful disciples here. When he had sung this, they said, even though you only stay in mountain retreats, you need to have conducive conditions such as a good meditation cabin. We'll provide them for you. Oh yeah, real estate agent here. So the Jetson replied, I already have conducive conditions, like my meditation castle, which is not material. This is what they are like. Then he sang the song of realization. I bow at the feet of my Father, the wish-fulfilling jewel. Grant your blessings that your son meet with conducive conditions. Please guide me in coming to the certainty that my own body is the deity's palace. Our own bodies too, eventually. Because of fear, I was worried and built a castle. This castle is the castle of Dharmata's emptiness. Now I've no worry over it collapsing. Because of the cold, I was worried and searched for some clothes. Those clothes were the clothes of Kandali's ash. Kandali is the inner heat. A-S-H, he pronounces. Now I've no worry over any cold. Because of poverty, I was worried and searched for riches. Those riches were the inexhaustible 7 noble riches. I'll give you those in a minute. Now I have no worry over poverty. The 7 noble riches, you'll get this in all the sects of Buddhism, are riches of the Aryas, are faith, discipline, learning, study, generosity, modesty, decorum/shame, and prajna. Remember, the Tibetans don't count. They say 7, they mean 9. Never mind. That's not our problem. Because of hunger, I was worried and searched for some food. The food was the food of the samadhi of Dharmata. Now I have no worry over hunger. Because of thirst, I was worried and searched for drinks. That drink was mindfulness and awareness's beer of Amrita, long life nectar. Now I have no worry over thirst. Because of sadness, I was worried and searched for a companion. That companion was the companion of the continuity of bliss emptiness. Now I have no worry over sadness. Because of being mistaken, I was worried and searched for a path. That path was the open and spacious path of union. Now I have no worry over mistakes. This yogi who has everything desired, wherever I stay, I am happy. At Yomo Tiger Lion Fortress, one's hairs stand on end at the tigers roar. With that, one can't help but strictly keep to retreat. Compassion is roused at the tiger cubs' play. With that, one can't help but cultivate bodhicitta. The howl of monkeys makes one feel uneasy. With that, one can't help but become disillusioned. The clamor of young monkeys makes one laugh. With that, one can't help but cultivate altruistic intention. See how he turns things and sees things differently because of the mindset that he maintains. The cuckoo's melody makes one feel sad. With that, tears cannot help but fall. The changing melodious voice of the lark. With that, the air cannot help but be pleased. Large black ravens with their copious caws are the companions of yogis and help their minds. Staying in a place like this, I'm naturally happy. When I have no companions, I'm happier still. May this yogi's song of happy experience clear away the suffering of wandering beings. When he had sung this, disillusionment and revulsion towards worldly things arose strongly for the disciples there. They offered the commitment never to come down from the mountain, and through meditation they all gained final attainment in their virtuous activity. Then the Yiram said to Jetson, "Go again to Tibet while meditating in remote mountain retreats, benefit sentient beings. There you will benefit the teaching of beings." With that prophecy, the Jetson resolved to go to Tibet. This is the cycle of Yolmo's snowy range. So that's Milarepa's contribution to our session tonight. I hope you liked it. You see, though, how that seeing the emptiness of things and always lack of subject-object duality. It's blissful, that's for sure. Very interesting. So we are at, I'll pick up where we left off, just a little bit in the LAM rim. And then I know what we need is some technical advice on some of the terms here. But let's continue from where we left off on page 141. Yes, 141. So how a Madhyamaka responds, volume 3, that is, page 141, bottom of the page. How a Madhyamaka responds to those who negate the distinguishing feature of Madhyamaka. To the objection, if things were empty of intrinsic existence, the causes and effects of cyclic existence and nirvana could not be set forth. Nagarjuna the protector responds that since the fallacy that the Madhyamikas were going to adduce have been advanced against them, they will turn it around and use it against the objectors. The 24th chapter of Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise says, "You take your own fallacies and turn them into ours, like someone while riding on a horse forgets that very horse. If you regard things as existing intrinsically," I'm on page 142, "then you regard all things as having no causes or conditions." Intrinsic, no cause, no condition. People don't think about that. They forget the horse they're riding on. That you see causes and conditions every day. What's wrong with you, man? Yeah. So this in the old days, same as today. Also, if all these phenomena were not empty, there would be neither rising nor disintegration. It would follow that for you essentialists, the Four Noble Truths would not exist. And there are other such passages. Tsong-kha-pa goes on. Therefore, it is clear that those who argue if there is no essential intrinsic existence, then what else is there, have unquestionably failed to distinguish between a seedling's lack of intrinsic existence and a seedling's lack of existence. They don't make the fine line. Because of that, they have also failed to distinguish between the existence of a seedling and the existence of a seedling by way of its own essence. Therefore, they clearly hold that whatever exists must exist essentially. That's why they're called the essentialists. And if something is not essentially existent, then it doesn't exist. Nice. Otherwise, why would they claim that the arguments refuting essential existence refute mere existence and mere production and cessation, etc.? The mere is the key to the whole thing. The mere I is okay. The hard, concrete I, no. Mere designation, fine. Getting underneath that and saying it exists by itself causes nothing but crap, nothing but suffering. You look at your own experience this way. This fortress you're protecting all the time doesn't exist the way it looks like. Somebody insults you, who are they insulting? Something. We're not things, we're events. We're constantly changing. We're in the system of cause and effect. Have fun. So, they claim that insofar as seedlings and such are asserted to exist, they must exist essentially, and they claim that if seedlings utterly lack essential existence, they must be utterly non-existent. In taking these positions, they undeniably fall to both extremes of permanence and of annihilation. Thus, their perspective is no different from that of the essentialists. For Chandrakirti's commentary on Ariadhya's 400 stanzas, which is the Bodhisattva Yoga Karyatara Katu Sataka Tika, says clearly, soon to be a major motion picture, the essentialists say that whenever things exist, there is essence. As they see it, without essence, these things would be completely non-existent, like the horn of a donkey. Oh, good, glad they got rid of the horns of other things. The horn of a donkey now. Therefore, these essentialists cannot avoid being proponents of both extremes of permanence and annihilation. Consequently, it is difficult to reconcile all of their explicit assertions. The glorious Chandrakirti distinguishes intrinsic existence from existence. He also distinguishes the absence of intrinsic existence from non-existence. What does Geshe Sopa say? To exist is to exist conventionally. That's all. Nothing harder than that. Nothing hardwired more than that. Unless you know this, you will no doubt fall to both extremes, unless you will not know the meaning of the middle way, which is without extremes. For when it turns out that a phenomenon utterly lacks essential existence, for you will be utterly non-existent, because that's the way you think. Then, since there'll be no way at all to posit cause and effect within emptiness, emptiness of intrinsic existence, that is, you will fall to an extreme of annihilation. Nothing exists. Yeah. Also, once you accept that a phenomenon exists, you will have to assert that it essentially exists. You have no other way of talking. In that case, it will be impossible for you to treat cause and effect as similar to illusions in the sense that they appear to exist intrinsically. They look like it. No one's denying that. We're fooled every 2 seconds, every moment by moment, whereas they do not. Logic steps in and says, it can't be that way. Get used to this and change your mind to see that things are constantly in flux, not inherently existent, and go out your business that way and go on to Buddhahood. Hurry up, you're late. Consequently, you will fall to the extreme of permanence. Therefore, to avoid falling to the extreme of existence, you must realize that from the outset all phenomena lack even a particle of essential existence. And to escape the extreme of non-existence, you must develop definite knowledge that things such as seedlings nevertheless have the power to perform their own functions. Remember the story of the king when he asked Nagasena, "You here?" "I'm not here, no. I'm not my arms, I'm not this, I'm not that." King says, "Well, you're a phony. What are you saying?" So then he said, "King, how'd you get here?" "I came on my chariot." "Was the chariot the wheels? Is it the axle? Is the seat? Is it that?" "Well, how'd you get here, King, on this non-inherently existent thing that still functions?" Then he yelled at the king. So they had a good time. Then they ate. I know for sure. They had a good meal. That is, they do not turn into non-things which are empty of the capacity to perform functions. They perform functions. In fact, it's the only way they can perform functions. Then he's going to quote Chandrakirti's clear words on page 143, but since we have a little time, 9 minutes, I'm getting some background, which is the reason why we aren't moving along fast to chapter 12, etc., because we need some background on exactly what dependent arising is. This is Geshe Jampa Tekchak's Insight into Emptiness. Marvelous book. Different take, very scholarly, very good. Edited by Thupten Chudran. She's everywhere. She's pervading. Wonderful, wonderful teacher. So, this is chapter 12. And what pages? They never have the pages on the chapter. Page 139. So he quotes the Treatise of the Middle Way. Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamaka, how it starts. I prostrate to the perfect Buddha, the best of all teachers, who taught that whatever is dependently arisen is without cessation, without arising, without annihilation, without permanence, without coming, without going, without distinction, and without identity, and peaceful, free from fabrication. He is now going to parse all of this and tell you. So he says here Nagarjuna speaks of freedom from the 8 kinds of extremes. Inherently existent cessation, without cessation, without inherently existent cessation. We've got to read that into it. Inherently existing arising, inherently existing annihilation, inherently existence permanent, coming, going, and distinction, and identity rather. Okay, those things. Always put the qualifier inherent in your mind. They don't write it out, but that's how it's to be understood. Peaceful, free from fabrications indicates liberation, the ultimate purpose of realizing emptiness. We wouldn't know that unless he told us. Here he discusses emptiness in relation to conditioned phenomena, explaining that they do not arise without cause, but arise due to causes and conditions. They do not arise depending on just one cause, but on many causes. They do not arise due to discordant causes, but due to causes that have the ability to produce that result. Cold does not produce heat, nor does heat produce cold. So it has to be concordant, or what's the other word? You're concordant, yeah, or congruent conditions. There's some logic to the cause and effect, okay? Now, furthermore, conditioned phenomena do not arise from self, other, both, self and other without cause. So we've heard that. We're bored with that already. Yeah, we know it all. Yeah, not really. Arising itself is not self-existence. If things do not arise in any of these 4 ways, how do they arise? They arise from causes and conditions that are concordant with the result. By showing their dependence, their emptiness is explained. Is it dependent? Then it's empty. Simple test you can do in the marketplace. Is it dependent? Then it's empty. Self-existent production would be the arising of a result completely independent of causes and conditions. Never happens. But we see that things arise depending on various causes and conditions. We see that. We look carefully. But we don't. We skip over it. Oh, it's always there. That's here. That's there. How did it get there? Where's it going? While there is no self-existent arising, there is an arising on a conventional level, agent, action, and object function. And now he's going to give you the blessing of the king of reasoning. In other words, you could do 7-point reasoning, you could do one and many and all that. You could skip all of that and just do dependent arising. Page 140. In our meditation on emptiness, what is to be negated is the self. That is, inherent existence, true existence, existence from its own side, of the person and phenomena, people and things. This can be approached in many ways, and many different lines of reasoning can be used to understand that such a self does not exist. For people who have studied a great deal, understanding these reasonings is not a problem. While those who lack sufficient background in the material could find it challenging, that's us. We're not big scholars. To understand emptiness, we do not need to understand all the reasons proving that phenomena are empty, as long as we understand dependent arising. Even if this is the only line of reasoning we understand, if we keep deepening our comprehension of it, we will eventually understand emptiness. That's nice advice. So we can narrow it down to staying on one track. Dependent arising is called the king of reasonings because it not only refutes inherent existence, but also at the same time establishes conventional nominal existence. This line of reasoning is a straightforward and simple approach. The person does not inherently exist because it is a dependent arising. Because the person arises and exists in dependence on other factors, it cannot be truly existing. It appears to be that way, but to understand the import of this reasoning, we must understand the types and meaning of dependent arising. He's going to flesh that out. The reasoning of dependent arising is the simple and most powerful to undermine both the appearance of self-existence and the self-grasping mind that believes that appearance is true. Two things. Looks that way, and I think that's the way it is. We don't sit there and do that. It just happens automatically. We assent to these false appearances, they sometimes say. Right? This reasoning is so powerful because dependent arising is diametrically opposed to self-existent. If we know that something is dependent, we can easily understand that it is not independent. Duh. If something is not independent, it is not self-existent either because these two are because the two are synonymous or synonyms. There is no way something can be both dependent and independent. So by eliminating one, the other is established. To put it another way, if something was self-existent, it would necessarily be independent of all other factors. However, nothing can exist in that way because everything is dependent on other factors. For example, in relation to ourself, we reflect, if such a self-existent I existed, it would be independent. But I am born due to afflictions and karma. I also depend on the 5 aggregates, and I am merely labeled by name and concept. Thus, the I cannot be independent. It cannot exist inherently as it appears. A self-existent I does not exist, but boy do we think it is, and boy do we go crazy protecting it. These are big points. This reasoning is also powerful because it applies to all phenomena, not just conditioned things. If dependent arising meant to come into being dependent on causes and conditions, then only conditioned phenomena would be dependent arising. However, it means to exist in dependence on other factors, and thus all phenomena, both impermanent and permanent, are dependent arisings. A person trained in science is well equipped to understand the concept of dependent arising, and even those of us who aren't do not find it difficult to see that things come into existence through depending on a multitude of factors. The words related, reliant, and dependent express the same thought in different ways, and they pertain not only to causal relationships, but also to other kinds of relations. There's causal dependence, part and whole dependence, designating consciousness dependence. There are different ways to speak about the various types of dependence. In one, phenomena in general are dependent in 3 ways, from the coarsest level of dependence to the most subtle, and here they are. 1, dependence on causes and conditions, coarse. Dependence on parts. 3, dependence on imputation by name and concept, the most subtle. From another perspective, two types of dependent arising are spoken of. Causal dependence, which is the same as dependence on causes and conditions, and dependent designation, which applies to all phenomena, both permanent and impermanent. Whichever way we classify dependent arising, the central principle remains the same. All existence depend on factors that are not themselves, thus nothing is self-existent. That's his little speech, ending on page 141. The guy's a master, to say the least. So, I highly recommend this book. It's very, very available now. So, clear, a lot of charts, a lot of step-by-step hand-holding advice, not so many charts, but a few. Different schools, what they hold, what they don't hold, and everything, so you don't get bogged down in those weeds. Excellent. So, let's see. Well, we have to see for whom we pray. Eugene Lee. Spotify. Please pray for all those who have no one to pray for them. Oh, yes. And all those whom suffer at the hands of the most abusive. You got that right, boy. True, true, true. Who have no one. The cat has appeared on the scene. You must have invoked the cat. Buddy. Yeah. Eugene has taken over. Very good, Eugene. Thank you very much. And the Turkish victims, some of them have no one to pray for. Those have all been our mothers. We are connected to them, whether we like it or not. We're connected to everyone. Even these people that die in the wilderness, unknown, nobody hears them crying for help. The Buddhas do, and we will act on their part, and we'll become Buddhists to help. These terrible things, take this sadness and turn it into, as Milarepa did, all these obstacles, turn it into fuel for your practice. That's Sutra of the Recollection of Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One, thus the Buddha, Bhagavata, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak, Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavatsu who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So that's a very nice point. Those who have no one to pray for them. That's when we say all, we really mean all. That's very compassionate. Wonderful. Thank you very much for bringing that to mind, which is where it should be all the time. Prayer for the flourishing J. Tsong-kha-pa's teachings, recommended by His Holiness, is a further cause for the swift return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche. Though on the website, of course. Though he's the father, producer of all conquerors, as a conqueror's son, he produced the thought of upholding the conqueror's dharma in infinite worlds. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. When of yore in the presence of Buddha Indra Ketu, he made his vow, the conqueror and his offspring praised his powerful courage. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. That the lineage of pure view and conduct might spread, he offered a white crystal rosary to the sage, who gave him a conch shell and prophesied. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. His pure view, free of eternity or destruction, his pure meditation cleansed of dark fading and fog, his pure conduct practiced according to the conqueror's orders, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Learned, since he extensively sought out learning. Reverent, rightly applying it to himself. Good, dedicating all for beings and the doctrine, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Through being sure that all scripture is definitive and interpretive without contradiction, advice for one person's practice, he stopped all misconduct. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Listening to explanations of the three Pitakas, realized teachings, practice of the three trainings, his skilled and accomplished life story is amazing. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Outwardly calmed and subdued by the hearer's conduct, inwardly trusting in the two stages practice, he allied without clash the good paths of Sutra and Tantra. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Combining voidness explained as the causal vehicle, with great bliss achieved by metta, the effect vehicle, heart essence of 80,000 Dharma bundles, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. By the power of the ocean of oath-bound doctrine protectors, like the main guardians of the three beings' paths, the quick-acting Lord Vaishvaravana, Karma Yama, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. In short, by the lasting of glorious Gurus' lives, by the earth being full of good, learned, reverent holders of the teaching, and by the increase of power of its patrons, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Now, 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. So our next online presentation will be the White Terra Sadhana this Saturday from the parsonage, which is where we are now. All are invited. It starts at 1 o'clock, both online and in person. Of course, it's on the same time. Refreshments are served afterwards. And this time, Sadhana the whole program is over about 10 to 2 or so. from 2 to 3, we'll have lunch and hang around and clown around. From 3 to 3:30, there'll be a silent period. You could read, you can meditate, you can do whatever you want, but quietly. And then at 3:30, the blah, blah, blah starts again because it's getting a little out of hand here sometimes. So it is a religious place, and we are in the presence of ordained staff now. So bless your heart, Jackie. 10,000 mountains. And put interest on that too, compounded. So that's, and our next Dharma class will be a Monday night, the 12th, no, the 13th, Monday night the 13th at 7 o'clock. That'll be from my house because we only meet here once a week. So thank you very much. Thank you for that suggestion from Alexandra Lenny. I think I have your name. I'm going to look it up again. Thank you so much. Big love to all of you. Stay safe.